Hello there, today I'm talking about Confessions, which is a film by Tetsuya Nakashima, a director who I'm suddenly very interested in. I've got a few more of his films now, so I should be watching them pretty soon. Just the strength of this one. This is a terrific film. I've heard of it for a while, but I had it for a while. I just never went to watch it. It was one of those ones I was like, I'll get to that one. I'll get there soon. And I wish I'd done it quicker because it really is a wonderful, twisted film. And it's kind of similar to what I've just done with I Saw the Devil, where it's about murders that are very uncomfortable, very funny at the same time. And again, it's like it takes something like it would be a tragedy, it is a tragedy, and then takes it to these kind of extreme revenge motivations that is kind of really funny and really melodramatic, but done in a certain way that makes it really work very well because it just implicates you in some horrible emotions. So it's a wonderful film. So that's why it's a double bill if I Saw the Devil. So it starts off with a teacher who's teaching in his class, and she's played by Takako Matsu. I probably just utterly butchered that name. It sounds like I've done that one wrong, doesn't it? Anyway, she's teaching this class, and she's telling them, like, this is the last day I'll be teaching you because I'm leaving teaching. And then she starts off telling them about the death of her daughter at the school. Her daughter died at the school. And she's saying, 2 of you in this class killed her maliciously. And then she starts to explain, without telling who the people were, she starts to explain who her daughter was, how she was killed, before finally revealing who did it. And so she's dealing with this unruly class of kids who have no respect, who treat her like dirt and treat her like total garbage. But by telling this story, she actually gets someone on side and they realise, oh, this is beyond our hijinks. This is beyond our messing around at school. This is actually evil. What's happened here? This is beyond the pale bad. Like, these kids think they're tough and think they're rotten and they think they're cool. But they're not really. They're just kids who are playing at being cool and playing at being rebellious. Once they hear about this real evil from members of their own classroom, they turn pretty quickly on the kids who did it. They really do something. They really are horrible. But the thing is, she also has a revenge planned for these kids. She tells them that she has syringed AIDS blood into the milk drunk by these 2 kids, so they're now going in the system. Which is a pretty awful thing to tell kids. Even though they're 15 and they're pretty horrible, it's still pretty brutal. So she's out for revenge, and she also knows by telling the kids this before she leaves, they will make the life of these 2 kids horrible. She can't prove it, but telling the kids that means they will go for revenge for her. Which they do. That's just the first third of the film. The first third of the film is just this one confession. You're watching it going, how can this be a full film? This is almost ended. This is almost like a short film that's ended, where we've got this talk and she's explained not only was a child killed, she was a single mother trying to bring up this child, but these malicious kids did it just because one was trying to prove themselves because he's a smart guy who thinks he's smarter than everyone else, and he's trying to prove himself for some reason. Another kid, just this confused kid who was bullied and he was tricked into thinking the child was already dead when it wasn't, and he froze in this water to die. That's the first third of the movie. You think, oh, where can you go from there? Because the first third's brilliant. It's just amazing. You're thinking, okay, where can I go? Because it's like, this can't just be it. Right. So I'll talk about the film a bit more. I don't know any spoilers, because you can't really talk about the film without any spoilers, but I should say to people who haven't seen it yet, this is why you should watch the film. You should watch the film because it's really, really funny as hell, and darkly funny. And it's deadpan at times, and it keeps on taking in angles you didn't expect. I mean, toward the end, it starts to go towards a conclusion. You're starting to see where it's going. But it takes a long time to get even remotely conventional in what it's doing. And even then, it's much more. It's less about twist at that point. It's much more about character pieces. So it's not really about the twist at that point. So you can really much. You can really figure out like I'm not really into it for that now. So that's fine. But early on, it's twisting, turning, and it's bringing characters who were at the side of the first third of the film, who were just there, but they weren't that important. You just noticed them in passing, really, and they become much more important. You also have to, you find out more about the killers, you find out more about their motivations, but how nothing's quite what it seems, and you just get into the kind of twisted logic of a teenage killer in a way that is it's melodramatic, but it also feels tied towards what crazy teenagers, if they went in a kind of homicidal way, would actually go, which is the weird fantasies in their head, the weirdness, the need to actually make yourself feel as if you're important, and the need to make yourself feel like as if you're doing this for a reason, and so it becomes very human. It becomes very much a story about the needs of people, how they're pushed to extremes, and how they can make really bad decisions that are devastating for everybody. It becomes that kind of story, and it becomes like a tragedy as well about how that can interact with other people and cause their lives to get out of control. And again, it's a story about revenge and the fallouts from revenge and the needs in revenge and the needs of people, and how some people just cannot be redeemed. They're irredeemable. There's something wrong with them. That there's a mechanism in their head that is pushing them towards something that's just going to devastate them and devastate the people around them. They're just like damaged people. There's things happen to them too early on that it cannot be sorted. So there is that level in the film. But now we have to go to spoilers. Before I could actually say, highly recommended. Do not read anything about it beyond the first third, really, and just go watch it, because it is wonderful. Because all I knew was the first third, not into it. That's all I knew, was pretty much what I told you about the first third. That's all I knew about it. Even that, I didn't know that much. There's lots of stuff I didn't tell people about what happens. There's a lot of really cool details in there. But just try and not know anything about it before you watch it. Just go in as fresh as possible. But if you've seen it, now you can go to the second half of this video. But I would highly recommend you do not go into the second half of this video without seeing it, because it is genuinely wonderful where it goes. Okay, spoilers now. Right, so we went to the second third, and you're told the story of what happened next. They get a new teacher who's much nicer than the woman, who's much more encouraging of them. He's trying to make them much more part of society. And you're getting a diary of this other girl who was in this school and who's watching everything sort of slowly fall apart because the teacher is annoying. He's too nice, he's annoying. He's irritating. And he doesn't know the details of what happened. So he isn't going to let them bully the kid. He doesn't know that the kids killed the daughter of the teacher. He's not going to let them get bullied. One of the kids don't come back to school, and one of the kids does come back to school. The kid that comes back to school is bullied horribly. He's a smart guy who thinks above everything. And he goes back almost to taunting other kids. And that kind of spins out of control in one way. And the other kid stays at home, and he believes that there's AIDS in his system, and he's slowly going mad. And the teacher keeps coming to his house to try and bring him back to reality and bring him back to life. That's making him worse. And he's slowly going mad. He cannot stand having been washed, but he's always trying to clean himself in some way. But it's almost like there's something inside him that he can't get out of his system. And even when he realises that he doesn't have AIDS, and the teacher was just messing with him with the idea in the first place, is how stupid are these two? They actually think this is a way to get AIDS, you know. Because she's messing with their young mind. So the teacher herself, the one who told the story, is out for revenge as well. She's not stopping. Like she push the teacher, the new teacher, to push them in this direction. So she knew that if he was as annoying as this, the kids would be much more brutal to the kid taking him back, and having him always go to the house of the other teacher, of the other kid, would push him over the edge. So she's keeping going. She's still out for revenge. And she's pushing. And you're getting into the background of the kid who stays at home and eventually kills his own mother. And he's completely insane. And you go into the headspace of the kid who set it all up. You start to see that the kid who set it all up and the other killer, they don't like each other that much. The one of the kid who becomes mother, he feels like he was manipulated by someone who can't go through it himself, and he actually knew the child was still alive when he threw her in the water. He was just he just hated the teacher as well and was malicious and did his own reasons. So it becomes more complicated. And the kid who can't go through with it, he's smart, but he's not as smart as he thinks he is, and he's going to make everyone pay for that. And it becomes a story about how he's going to push everybody. But it becomes actually a tale of how he's not quite as... He's psychopathic and he wants to destroy everybody. But, well, always having this facade to the outside of being a good student. But he is obviously psychopathic and just off. And you start to see how he get turned into this by his mother abandoning him. His mother was a smart woman who gave up her career for her children, regretted it, left her father, who was much more conventional in intellect, to look after the child, to go back to her studies. And she never came back, and she still watched the kid from a distance, but her abandoning the kid destroyed him and made him insecure about his own intellectual processes. He was still working and stuff, but he wasn't quite as, maybe not been as smart as he thought he was, or maybe he wasn't given encouragement by his mother. And it just shows you how that drives him and how that causes him craziness, and how he tries to manipulate people. He starts to be involved with one of the girls from the school who defends him at some point to try and stop him getting bullied. And you see her psychology, she's the one from the second half of the story, or the middle of the story. You see her psychology, how she's a rebel. And you start to see the different psychologies, how they all interact. And the story goes back and forward in time. You start to see where everything goes. But it's all really about the crazy psychologies. It's not really about the plot's there. I mean, it's based on a book and the plot was there, but you feel the director is much more interested in the weirdness of the people's lying to themselves, lying to each other, and why are they lying, and why are they doing this, and what they avoiding looking at. So I mean, they've already got a plot from the book, but they take the plot and make it more a character piece, and so that visually it tells you a lot about what's driving the person without having to tell you. They're just there about how it was visualised, and also just the way it's acted in certain ways. The acting's really terrific. Some of the actors never did anything else after it, but they were great in this. And it just shows you the kind of darkness of the psychology, not just of the kids, but also of the teacher, who she's not giving them revenge. She's been told by her ex, who's dying of AIDS, who was the father of the child, not to do this. This will destroy you. This is just the worst. This is the worst thing possible. You have to accept the tragedy, but she just can't. She just cannot let it get away with it. And she will go as far as he would. It's like, it's also two psychos facing off each other. Like, this has revealed her inner psycho, this tragedy. And yeah, she's grieving for a child, and he's grieving for a lost mother. And they're both obviously she's more intelligent because she's older and she knows certain things that he doesn't. But they're both kind of in this web of self-destruction, really, and destruction of each other and destruction of people around them. Because, I mean, people die to the side of them for her to get revenge and him to feel like he's going to get revenge in society just because they cannot step back. So she's as much of a monster than he is by the end. It's just that she's better at it than he is. So that's where some of the humour comes from. Just the kind of obliviousness of the characters, the dark humour of some of the situations and how she can comment on it. How she goes from this very sweet woman to this monster who's really sarcastic and nasty, and it just shows her claws really. And it's wonderful. It's especially good when he tries to do a mass murder at the end, because he's so sick of the people and he thinks, I don't care about me anymore, I'm going to blow you all up. And then, of course, she actually figures out he's going to do it, nicks the explosive, and puts it in the room of his mother. So he basically blown up his own mother. And because he's such a psycho, it just reveals all of his problems to the world. He's a mother fixation. Because until then, she couldn't prove he killed her daughter. And she couldn't prove anything. She couldn't prove everything. I mean, basically, the kids in school knew that he killed her, did it. But there was no real proof in law or anything. He was getting away with it. But by manipulating the whole situation, making another kid kill his mother, and then setting him up so he blows up his mother, it just shows you this kind of weird, dark humour at the centre of the film. Is about a mother losing a daughter and making these other kids kill their mothers, and it's like, it's this weird, dark, humorous thing. But it's also the thing is, she just shows him to the world about what a pathetic little loser he actually is. And it's just this dark, dark tale of, like, adults and children hating each other, and it's very dark and very funny. And it's a dark comedy, even though it's serious about the child murders and how crazy they are and how weird everything is. But it's genuinely a funny film, and it's genuinely twisted and sad about certain people get hurt or die because of these machinations that they shouldn't have, just because they're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So it does spin out of control in certain ways. And it's all basically due to these two psychos facing off against each other. I mean, she's always saying, like, it's all his fault. But she could have walked away. She'd never. She just was out for revenge. And you get a feeling at the end of it, she's done as well, because there's nowhere to go. Just by getting this revenge, it's like you're destroyed after this one. There's nowhere you really go as a person after you've done this. And it's just really darkly funny about the worst sides of humanity, even in the school, and how things can just spin out of control and become twisted and weird and off. And it's a wonderful film. I highly recommend it. It is just so good. I feel I'm not doing justice in this video, but I only saw it a few weeks ago and it's still in my head a lot. So, but it is just wonderful. It's a really twisted film. And I have a feeling the more you watch, there's going to be more nuances there. But just this whole thing of mothers and sons basically murdering other versions of themselves, it's just hilarious, and it's just twisted and weird. And it's like, it's one of those things where they kind of, there's the plot level, but there's also the kind of subtextual levels are all over. The subtextual levels are really interesting and weird, and you feel the director and screenwriters knew exactly what they were doing and knew exactly what they were implying a lot of the time, and the weirdness of it all. So, yeah, just go watch it. It's just so good. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope I didn't ramble too much, but I'll see you soon.